During this tutorial, we will be creating this cute little spider together. The canvas is 3000 by 4000 pixels with the color profile set to sRGB, and I have created a color palette for you and a brush pack for easy brush picking. We'll start off by filling our background. Let's go and grab a color. Let's use this one over here, the third color in the first row. Let's drag it onto our canvas and then make a new layer by going to the layer menu and tapping the plus. For the brush, we will be using the Smooth Lines brush. And for the color, let's grab this one over here, the fifth color in the first row. And we are going to make a curved line from the left to the right. We'll start about here. We'll curve our way up, then go to the right, wobble down a little bit, and then go down here. And then drag in the color to fill the area. Next, we will duplicate it. Go to the layer menu, drag the layer to the left and tap duplicate. And then go and grab another color. We'll grab this one over here, the sixth color in the first row, and drag it on top of the shape. Next, we'll go to the magic wand and use the liquify tool. Set it to push. Make sure that distortion and momentum are turned off. And then push the leaf a little bit. Because this will be a leaf. And you can see that my pressure is set to max and the size is set to 59% in this case. But you can definitely play around with that. And by pushing this, we are creating a fold, a line for our leaf. So gently push until you have a line like this. Now let's make a new layer by tapping the plus on top of our leaves layers and then drag it underneath those layers. Now for the brush, we are going to use the Long Fuzz Fur Base, and we'll use that to create the body of our spider. For the color, let's use this color over here, the third color in the second row. The opacity of this brush is set to 80% and the size is set to 84%. Now let's create a shape over here. It's a little bit rounded, but a little bit flat here at the top. And fill it in. So it's a little bit of a squished shape with a flatter surface here at the top. That'll be the top of the spider's head. And you can go all the way down to the leaf. Next up, we'll create his fluffy jaws. At least I believe these are his jaws. Let's make a new layer on top by tapping the plus. And we'll still use that Long Fuzz Fur Base brush. And this time we'll use this color over here. It's the seventh color in the second row. And we'll make one oval over here. Just make these rounded motions and it's touching that side of the body. And then we'll make another one over here, which is almost touching the one on the left. Next up, we'll create its feet. We'll do that on top of the leaves. So first go to this layer, then tap the plus. And for the color, let's keep using this color we're using right now, the seventh color in the second row. And let's start by creating a leg over here, curving down to that leaf. We can make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's go for 50%. We'll make one leg over here and it's a little bit thicker at the top and then thinner over here. Then we'll make another one over here. And it's slightly diagonal, moving outwards, also touching that top of the leaf. But it doesn't have to touch the other leg or the body. This is just the front of its leg. Then we'll have this one over here, which is covering the body a little bit. Make an elongated shape, a little bit thinner as you move down. and then one over here. Now, since we have this front view of our spider, we won't be seeing all of its 8 legs. Now let's go back to the body. Layer 4, I want it to be a little bit bigger, so let's go back to the color, the third color in the second row. And let's add a little bit to its head, so that we have a little bit more space for the eyes, which we will create later. Now we are going to turn on Alpha Lock on the layer, tap the layer, turn on Alpha Lock, and we are going to add some furry texture. Let's go to the brushes and use the rough fur brush. And for the color, let's first grab this second one over here in the second row. The opacity of the brush is at 69% and the size is at 31%. And let's just go over his belly area, making that darker. That'll be in shadow because it's blocked. Light won't get there, so it's a dark area. And gently move up, and there we'll add some lighter hairs. Let's grab this color over here, the fourth color. Let's just go along the top area, adding some fluff there. Then go and grab this color over here. It's the last color in the second row, and gently go over the top of its head. We can add more fur later, but this is a great start. Now let's move to layer 5, turn on Alpha Lock there as well. And for the color, we'll start with this one over here, the 6th color in the second row. And we'll go over these jaws, adding a little bit of darker fur, a little bit of shadow, a nice dark base, and then we'll switch to this lighter color, the last color in the second row. And we'll go over in this direction, adding some of that light. And then this way, make this motion. So it already looks nice and fluffy. Then for the legs, go to layer 6, turn on Alpha Lock there as well. And now let's grab this dark color over here, the first color in the second row. And for the brush, we are going back to the long fuzz fur base. And we are going to give these legs a striped pattern. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger actually. Let's go for 80%. Let's give it this striped pattern. Light and dark. And let's make the tips, the ends of its feet, nice and dark. We'll do this for each leg that we see here. This one as well. We'll start with the dark. It's like he's wearing a pajama, or as if he's in jail. Now let's go and grab a lighter color. This one over here, last color in the second row. And let's make some areas a little bit lighter. And you can switch it up with the rough fur brush. Let's go and grab this color, second color in the second row. And you can also use that, go along the edges and add even more of that furry texture. Could make the brush a little bit smaller, 10% for these little legs. Make it look nice and textured. Now let's go and give this spider some eyes. Let's tap the plus for a new layer, and for the brush, let's use the Smooth Lines brush. Let's draw a circle. Hold your pen in place to make it snap to the quick shape, and then hold one finger on your screen to make it snap to a perfectly round circle. And then drag in the color. Then go to the arrow tool, use uniform, make it a little bit smaller if you need to. Let's turn off snapping over here. Make it slightly smaller and place it over here, and then tap the arrow again. Now let's go to the layer, tap the plus for a new one, and we'll set this one to clipping mask. So whatever we paint here, it'll only show up on the eye. And now let's grab this blue over here, that first color in the third row. And now we are going to make a circle again. Let's make the brush smaller first. Let's say 8%. Make a circle over here, hold your pen in place to make it snap to the quick shape. Then go like this. Then go to edit shape so you can move it around and let it barely touch that top part. And then drag in the color to fill it. Now, since we are staying inside of the shape of the eye, clipping mask was actually not really necessary, but I guess it's a bit of a habit. Let's tap the layer and then add a layer mask. And now with black, and let's grab the soft brush. And now with black, we are going to remove a part of this circle. Let's make the brush big again. Let's go for 50% and remove that lower part and these sides. Now let's go and lower the opacity of this layer. Tap the N, lower the opacity. Let's say 40%. And then let's go and grab the soft brush over here. The opacity of this brush is at 60%, and let's set the size to 10%. And let's go over the underside just a little bit. So right now, this reflection, this highlight is following the curve of that round eyeball. And the reason we have this little gap between the top and that highlight is because, well, that eye is inside something like a socket. It's not, well, for a spider, not perhaps, but still there is some fur, some like spider skin protruding a little bit and casting just a tiny shadow on the eyeball. It's just a tiny little touch that will add a little bit to the realism. Now let's make a new layer on top by tapping the plus. We don't necessarily need clipping mask because we are going to put something inside of the shape. Let's grab the medium brush. And for the color, let's grab the second color in the third row. The opacity of this brush is set to 71% and the size is at 2%. And let's add a tiny little highlight right here. Of course, a spider doesn't have one eye. I believe some spiders have many eyes. We are going to duplicate this eye, but first we'll merge these eye layers by pinching them together and then duplicate it by sliding to the left and tap duplicate and then go to the move tool. We'll place this one right next to the other and then we'll duplicate it again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, move this one and make this one smaller quite a bit and place it next to this one. Then we'll duplicate this small eye, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move tool, and drag it to the left. Then tap the arrow again, and check if you like the placement. I feel like this one could go a little bit more to the left, so you can go back to the move tool. It's hard to see with all those blue circles. Then tap the arrow again, and I believe these eyes look pretty good. So let's go to the eyes layer and let's just merge them all. Now we'll go back to layer 4, which is the body layer, and we'll make a new layer on top by tapping the plus. Now we'll use clipping mask here, and this time I believe it's pretty handy, even though we might be staying inside the shape, I don't know. And now let's go and change the layer blending mode. We are going to change it to screen. Screen is great when you want to add light to your painting, but you don't want to ruin any texture that you have created. Now we have some texture here. We have that fur and we don't want to just like with an opaque brush paint over it. We still want that fur to be visible. So we're using screen, and for the brush, we are using the medium brush. And for the color, let's grab this one over here. No, this one over here. Let's grab the fourth color in the second row. The opacity and the size are still the same. Now let's make a light edge on the underside of the eye. The light is hitting there. It's coming from the top. You can see that here we have that highlight, so it's coming from above. And light will also hit here where the eye is inside of its little spider socket. Though I don't know if spiders have eye sockets. So a little curved line around the spider's eye. And you can go even lighter by grabbing that fifth color in the second row and add even more light in a few places to get some variation. Now we'll create another layer underneath this one. So first we'll tap layer 4, then tap the plus. Now this layer is automatically clipped, and this time we'll set the layer blending mode to multiply. It works the same as screen, but this time it'll add shadow to your painting, again without ruining any texture. For the color, let's grab this one over here, the third color in the second row. And let's go around the eyes again, but this time adding a little shadow underneath. This will create that sense that these eyes are bulging out a little bit. Now we can make the brush a little bit bigger. Let's go for 7%. Add just a little bit more shadow. And let's also add a little bit to the body to attach the body to this leg, for instance. So we'll have to go to layer 4 again. We can turn off alpha lock. And for the brush, we'll grab that long fuzz fur base again. And for the color, we'll grab this second color and the second row. And let's just go along these areas and add some of that fur there to make it look more attached to these legs. But it's in shadow, so it's nice and dark there. Now let's add some extra hair, some extra fuzz to our spider. Let's create a new layer on top of these layers. So go to layer 8, then tap the plus for a new layer. For the brush, we are going to use the textured rough hairs brush. And for the color, we'll use this color over here, the 8 color and the second row. The opacity of the brush is set to 74% and the size is set to 13%. And let's go on top here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's go on top here and add a few of these hairs sticking out. As if he has a nice haircut. And you can also grab that orange, that fourth color in the second row. Use that to go over here. And if you feel like the transition is a little bit too rough, then you can go and add a layer mask to this layer. Tap the layer, then tap mask, then with black. And while using the long fuzz fur base, let's make it a bit smaller, 20% or 25%. You can go over that edge and make it blend more with the rest of the fur. Now let's move on to those jaws. Let's go to layer 5 and let's make a layer on top by tapping the plus. And for the brush, let's use the textured rough hairs brush again. And for the color, we'll use this last color in the second row. And now let's add some of that rough hair to these jaws. And follow that, well, that shape of these jaws. They are rounded, so these lines definitely on the outside need to be curved around that shape. So it's following that curve. So on this side we'll curve like this, and on this side we'll curve like that. And you can go outside of the shape a little bit, adding some of these stray hairs. And don't go all the way to the bottom. I'd like to keep this a little bit dark because that's more in shadow. Now let's do the same for the legs. Let's go to the leg layer, layer 6. Let's tap the plus for a new layer. And let's add some stray hairs here as well. But just on these lighter areas. And just a few. I'll add less to these ends of the legs since they are so thin. And add some more hairs here near the knees. We can also add some stray hairs by using the loose hairs brush. The opacity of this brush is set to 81% and the size is set to 4%. And you can add some hairs sticking out in a few areas. We can also add some dark hairs. Let's grab this color over here, first color and the second row. And let's have some of these dark hairs stick out. Just a bit randomly. Now our spider is pretty much finished. He just needs one more leg behind here. Let's make a layer behind or underneath our leaves layers. And also, let's make it behind the body. Let's just go all the way to layer 1, tap the plus for a new layer. And if you are running out of space here, you can easily merge some layers. You can merge the body layers, for instance, over here. You can merge these jaws. And you can merge these legs. And you could also actually merge the eyes with the body. And if you want, you can merge the jaws with the body, no problem at all. Now this layer below the others, let's add another leg. Let's use the long fuzz fur base again. And let's grab the second color and the second row. We'll add a little leg over here. Just an elongated shape behind this leg. And again, let's add some of that lighter, like fur. It's not like a spider really has fur, but I don't know what else to call it. Let's grab this color over here, 7th color in the second row. Now let's add a little bit of lighter fluff here. And you could actually also use the textured rough hairs and add a little bit of that here. Now, since this leg is more in the back, it's further away, it'll be more blurry. If you would make like a close-up shot, a photo of the spider, if your photo is in focus in any case, then the focus will be on its face. That'll be crisp. And as you move further away, everything will look blurry. So this leg will also look blurry. So let's go to the magic wand and go to Gaussian blur and slide to the right to make this leg more blurry. Let's go for 5% and then tap the magic wand again. Now we have this cute little spider. Let's work on its surroundings now. Let's first go to layer 1. Then let's grab the medium brush. And for the color, let's grab this one over here. The first color in the first row. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 20%. And let's make some blobs in the background. We are going to make a very blurry background. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller, 15%. Go over again, making it even darker. And then let's grab a lighter color. Let's grab this one over here, the 5th color in the 1st row. And let's gently go over some areas, adding a little bit of light. A little bit around our spider. Placing him in the spotlight. And then go to the magic wand, use Gaussian blur, and slide to the right to make a blurry looking background. Then just tap the magic wand again. Now for the leaf, let's first start with layer 2. Let's set it to alpha lock so we won't be painting outside of the shape. And for the brush, we are going to use the Dove Lake brush. And for the color, let's grab this one over here, the 7th color in the 1st row. The opacity of the brush is at 100% and the size is at 63%. And let's just go over this leaf, adding some texture. Then let's go over again, making it even darker. And then grab a lighter color. Let's use this one, the 5th color in the 1st row. And let's add a little bit of lighter green on this side. And a little bit over here, just to add some texture to this leaf. Now let's blur it a little bit by going to the magic wand and to Gaussian blur, slide to the right to 4%. And then let's use the smudge tool, the little finger over here, and set it to the watercolor stone brush. Now I found out by just experimenting that this brush is great for blurring this area, for smudging this area. The opacity is at 100% and the size is at 92%. And let's just make these strokes going up and down along this leaf. A little bit like this. Now let's move to layer 2. Well, the other layer 2. Let's turn on alpha lock. And again, let's add some texture. Let's use the Dove Lake brush again. Let's grab this 6th color in the 1st row and go over here, adding some texture. And let's also grab this color, the 4th color in the 1st row. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller, 20%. And let's add some light spots. And let's blur this a little bit as well. Go to the magic wand, then to Gaussian blur, and slide to the right just slightly. And then let's merge these 2 layers. Let's pinch them together and turn off alpha lock. Now we are going back and blur a little bit more by going to the magic wand, then Gaussian blur, and then set it to pencil. And for the pencil, you can use the soft brush. The opacity is at 60% and the size is at 10%. And let's go along the edge of the leaf. Now our spider will be in focus and this will be more blurry. Just go along the edges like this. And then tap the magic wand again. You can add a little bit more highlight by using the medium brush. With this light color, let's set the size to 2%. And let's just go along this edge of the leaf in some areas to add a little bit more highlight. A little touch. Just to separate this area, this like folding area a bit more from that darker area of the leaf. There, that's it. Now, finally, to tweak our spider creation a little bit more, we can work on the shadows and the highlights a bit more. We can tweak those. Now, to do that, we need to merge the layers. We're going to merge the layer of the leaf and the layer with the spider. If you feel unsure about merging your layers though, then you can always just duplicate them first, merge those duplicated layers and turn off the original ones. I'm just going to merge the layers. And now I'll duplicate this layer with the spider and the leaf, duplicate it, then change the layer blending mode by tapping the N. And let's first use multiply. Set it to multiply, then tap the layer and turn on a layer mask. And we'll fill that layer mask with black. Now you can go and grab the soft brush, for instance, set it to white, double tap here to grab pure white. And now you can add some shadow areas. For instance, we can darken this a little bit, make it look more like a folded area because light is coming from the top. And if this is, well, it's like curved, then this will be a shadow area. Light wouldn't be able to reach here. So we can darken that a little bit. And as you can see, since we are using a multiply layer, all of the texture is staying intact. We can make the brush a little bit smaller, 5% or 6. Let's go for 6. Add a little bit more shadow underneath here, for example, underneath its jaws. You can just tweak it a little bit. And if you are adding too much, then you can switch back to black and paint it back in, or actually remove that multiply part. Now we are going to duplicate this layer again. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, place this on top. And this time we'll set the layer blending mode to screen to add some more highlights. Again, we'll use a layer mask and we are going to fill it with black. Again, with the soft brush set to white, we can paint parts back in and focus on the parts that would be in the light. So that would be the top of this little spider's head, for example, or the tops of these jaws. Those would be in the light, and the tops of these legs. Add a little bit of light there. And this way you can tweak the lighting in your painting. We can add a little bit of light to this edge, for example, which would also get hit by the light. And then when you look, let's group these layers, these like adjustment layers. And then when you look and turn it off and on, you can see that with these two layers, you have tweaked the lighting setting, adding more a contrast to your painting. A final tweak that I like to do is add a little bit of noise to your painting. We can merge these layers now that we're happy with it, then duplicate it just to be sure, then go to the magic wand, then to noise, then slide to the right to, let's say, 3 or 4%. It can be very subtle. I'm not sure about these different settings, what they exactly do. I like billows. Just switch between these and check what you like. I like the billows look. So set to 3% and billows, and then tap the magic wand again. And the reason I add that noise is because it makes it look a little bit more like a photo. In any case, here's the cute spider. I hope you have enjoyed following this tutorial. Let me know if you did, and be sure to share your work, of course. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.